Hello, I'm Amy Atchley. Welcome everyone to the 25th annual Cool House Tour brought to you by Austin Energy, Green Building, and Texas Solar Energy Society. This year's virtual tour features a mixed-use condo tower, an affordable multifamily community, 2 East Austin backyard dwellings, a modern home in West Austin, and a suburban home designed for a challenging site. All of these homes are designed and built with high standards of energy efficiency, comfort, and regional design. We're excited to share them with you today. First and foremost, we'd like to thank Austin Energy for making this special anniversary event free to attend by underwriting the ticket cost. This annual fundraising event supports Texas Solar Energy's Society's mission to promote clean, safe, locally harvested solar power for every Texan. Secondly, we would also like to thank the underwriters whose generous contributions make this event possible. CED Green Tech, Sunrun, HE Solar, Cam Solar, The Power Store, and Solar Syntex. And of course, we would like to thank you all for joining us today. Because you registered in advance, you will also receive a link to the recording of this event, along with other resources from today's presentation. Look for that follow-up email in a few days. We will also send you an invitation to our Green by Design webinars in August. This 3-evening online series will help you learn how to build, remodel, or buy green homes that improve energy and water efficiency, increase comfort, and reduce maintenance. Before we get started, we would like to know a little bit more about you by taking a quick poll. What brought you to the Cool House Tour today? Plan to build or remodel and want to learn about green home features? Plan to buy a home and want to learn how to spot green home features? Learn more about green building for current or future employment? Earn CEUs for professional education? Want to see some cool houses? So if you will, just pick what choice resonates most with you. We're excited to be with you today and bring you this virtual tour online. This is our second year of bringing this tour virtually, and we wanted just to make sure that we can reach you in the time of this pandemic is what we did the first go around, and now here we are today, again, reaching nearly 1,000 registrants. So thank you for joining us. All right, let's get started. Our first tour is of a modern urban home in Austin's Tarrytown neighborhood.
These Tarrytown homeowners and their architect worked with Austin Energy Green Building to construct a beautiful, sustainable home on the site of their original 1940s bungalow. From the xeriscaped front yard on the home's north side to the deep back porch with retractable screens to the south, this property's outdoor living spaces were designed with the Austin climate in mind. Both the indoor and outdoor environments offer a healthy, comfortable environment for the homeowners and visiting friends or family. Inside the home, the architect placed large windows on the north and south ends of the house. Additionally, high recessed windows called clear-story windows naturally bounce light off the ceilings on the east and west sides of the home. A heat pump with a high seasonal energy efficiency ratio, or SEER rating, provides efficient heating and cooling. The 5-stage system facilitates humidity removal even on days when little mechanical cooling is needed. In combination with LED lighting fixtures and a range of Energy Star appliances, these equipment selections help maximize efficiency and lower the home's energy bills, helping the homeowners keep running costs to a minimum. This home's combination of climate-appropriate design and careful equipment and fixture choices helped the homeowners achieve a 5-star Austin Energy Green Building rating for their updated, visitor-friendly, and sustainable new home.
What a beautiful video. We want to check out the poll results before we get into the presentation. So what we're seeing here, the poll results, plan to build or remodel and want to learn about green home features. So that is number 2, and then we have number one, which is want to see some cool houses. So we want to thank you so much for participating, and we're going to jump right into this presentation now. Joining us today to present more about the design of this home that earned a 5-star rating from Austin Energy Green Building is architect Nana Kim, principal of 9 Square Studio. After her presentation, we'll take audience questions. Please enter all of your questions in the Q&A field.
Thank you, Amy. So hi, my name's Nana Kim, and I'm an architect with 9 Square Studio. I'm presenting this project in Tarrytown. I guess I better get started. Next slide, please. So here is some photos and a survey of the existing property. As they mentioned, it was a 1940s bungalow originally, and the clients bought the home in 2001 with no real plans to remodel, and lived in it for quite a while, of about 15 years. And Nick Stacy, my client, got married in 2014, and as a newlywed couple, they really started talking about what they wanted in the home and the qualities that they wanted to improve their lives, and decided that really with the layout and the existing systems and the issues that they had with the existing house, that it wasn't going to work to try to work with the existing. You can see some of the house itself was pretty cute, but it had some outdated issues, and the garage in the back was sagging and unusable. Next. So you can see here the proposed plan, which is it kept the driveway and the garage on the left, on the east side on the left, and the main living space is an open plan living, dining, kitchen with a combination laundry, pantry, home office that links the garage and the kitchen. The offshoot wing to the right, as it goes toward the back of the property, is the primary suite, and tucked in that corner is that covered patio that was shown in the photo. Next. And here is a 3D SketchUp model view of the project. So this is a study model that we use during the design process, not one of those photorealistic renderings, obviously, but it allowed us to actually study the position of the sun in an accurate way relative to our location here in Austin, and look at what the shadows would do at different times of the year and different times of the day. And what I also like about SketchUp is that I'm able to share the model with my clients, and they can download a free program and walk themselves through the project and familiarize themselves with the spaces and really understand what's going on. Next. So in deciding to undertake this new build, we quickly zeroed in on this modern style. And that was really due to, we realized that this was my client's personal taste, even though they had lived in that 1940s bungalow for so long. So in going with this modern style, we still wanted to present a friendly human scale to the street, and use durable materials, but in a way that is still inviting and has that human scale. So some of the things we did was, obviously we have this white box that's perched on top of this darker lower space. And the white is a stucco with an elastomeric paint, which is a sort of a stretchy paint that goes over the stucco and covers any cracks that might develop underneath on the stucco. The paint stretches and keeps protecting that stucco. And the darker volume is a hardy siding that we used on a vertical orientation. And the scale of these slats kind of varies through the project, but it's a motif that we use throughout the project. And it adds a texture to these sort of flats, you know, kind of austere surfaces, and adds that sort of human scale to the project. And also we try to use a lot of natural materials like wood and stone and concrete as much as possible. Next. So the way you enter the project is a little different than your standard American home. We have this front courtyard that you can see on the left photo. That's with the gate open. And there's actually a doorbell and a mail slot there. So that, and so that's the front entry. And then as you enter the front courtyard, then you're facing the real front door of the house. And what this allowed us to do is we had these big, open glass panels and windows in the front. And usually when you have these front windows, you end up covering it all the time with blinds or shades. And we wanted to be able to keep this open, keep that feeling of expansive, light-filled, open feeling to the outside. And that was the way we achieved it in the front facade. Next. So as you enter the front door, you can see the living dining space with the kitchen tucked away a bit on the left. And you can also see the back patio viewed through the big sliding doors, which is in the open position right now. And and the other element that I wanted to mention is this back wall, which has, again, that sliding texture detail. This vertical slat wall has got really thin white oak sort of reeds applied. And that's, and again, you can see that on the stair, the steel stair going up on the left side, that vertical texture happening again. And through that door, which is open, and I wish I had a closed position, that door has the same texture applied to it. So when it's closed, you can see the seam of the door, but it kind of blends in with the wall and becomes kind of a hidden door. And that leads to the master or the primary suite going all the way back. Next. And when you enter that door, and here you can see on the left a close-up view of that wood slat wall. You enter the primary suite in the sequence: bedroom, closet, bathroom, and then a private deck terminating in the private deck off the bathroom. So we continued the use of these high windows called clerestory windows to bring light into the spaces. But obviously these spaces are even more private than the main entry spaces. So we used some applied film in locations, and really kept, and then also used this privacy screen at the deck, so that you can, again, keep the windows open and step out and have some visual privacy from the neighbors. Next. Here's some more details of the bathroom, the primary bathroom. So the bathroom has somewhat of an open plan also. We have the shower and water closet tucked behind the sink wall, which is partial height. The entry to the door is on the left, and we don't really have any partitions there. It's an open walk-in shower, but the shower itself is tucked in, and so water doesn't splash back into the bathroom. And the threshold is a zero threshold entry, which was important to my clients. And you can see in the shower, it has its own clerestory window again, and that's lined up with that opening at the top of the partial height, excuse me, partial height wall. So it helps bring light into the main bathroom as well as lighting the shower. And then on the right, you can see a little bit of a detail of the material choices we used in the bathroom. River rocks and floating wood shelf kind of has, we were trying to create a spa-like feeling. Next. So back out in the main living space, this is the dining and kitchen. You can see that wood slat wall again on the left, so it becomes its backdrop for the dining area. And then the built-in buffet is actually the same material, but used in a flat slab design. And you can also hear again the upper windows that carry through the project. Next. So when you turn around and you're facing the kitchen, this motif is repeated on the side of the island. That's where the stools go. And next. See, you can see the kitchen better here in the overall view. So on the right, the covered patio, I think this photo really shows that outdoor space becomes an extension of the inside living space, both visually and functionally with that big sliding door. And this indoor-outdoor connection was really important to my clients. They did not have that in their bungalow. And I think this is something that I see with everyone that I work with, that it's a priority to have that connection to the outside spaces. You can see in the kitchen, the organization is cooking in the back wall. On the side wall is the refrigerator built in, and another refrigerator, the wine fridge below, and then prep area and dishwashing on the island. Next. The refrigerator wall is actually pretty program intensive, meaning there's a lot of use to this wall. So the main middle is the refrigerator with cabinet fronts, but flanking to the left and right is the wine station on the left and tea station to the right. And my client Nick is from England, so the tea station makes sense. And then the wine area turned out really well because it has the wine fridge right below. Next. Here's some details of the kitchen. We have this great built-in butcher block on the island with a compost bin that is inset. So you can take up the lid and whatever you've chopped up and you wanted to take over to the compost, you can just brush it into this compost bin. We also have this pop-up outlet on the island, so when you're not using it, you can pop it down and keep it flat. And here's a view of that combination laundry pantry home office space that I mentioned. And that also has its own door to that covered patio. This flooring is actually a recycled rubber flooring that my client Jennifer Stacy really loved when she saw at an airport in Colorado. And we ended up following through and kind of finding out what that spec was and installing it in this space. And it's actually a nice sort of a cushy feeling too on your feet. Next. So the covered patio is actually, I think, mentioned in the video preceding that it can be converted to a screen porch with these automated roll down shades to the right. And this is a question that so many people deal with, do you do a covered porch or a screen porch? And so I think this way they were able to get both in a way that is pretty, visually, I think it looks good as well. And with the bright light, when you put the shades down. Next. Next slide, please. so you can see with the shade down that it still has a nice quality of light, and it actually, you know, in addition to functioning as a screen porch, it kind of mutes that bright light and I think adds to the quality of the space. And here's some little details about the built-in kitchen and the patio. We have that little platform there that's supposed to receive the green egg at some point. And then a little detail of the louvers that are set in on the upper part of the screen wall. And these are made of Ipe. Next. We have a view of this steel stair, custom fabricated steel stair. And it's got a single stringer, which is that support you see running underneath, and needed this intermediate middle landing because the overall run, the height of the stair is over 10 feet. And we did have this, you know, when you do these open stairs, you end up with the space underneath that's a little bit awkward. And my client ended up, we were talking about it being like a reading nook or something. He ended up putting a nice sort of music and display area under there. But this is something that, you know, we kind of just had to come up with a solution. Next. More views of the stair. So we have this, each stair step is a metal pan that has a metal edge that you can see the verticals of the railing, the pickets landing on the metal edge. So so the fabricator was able to weld to those and then inset the same flooring used on the floors into each pan. And then you can also see the thermostat and some outlets built in to the side of that cabinet, and step lights on the right wall as you go up the steps. Next. I just thought this might be interesting for people to see. So this stair is incredibly heavy, and during installation, oh, you can see our builder, Larry Anderson on the right side there. And then on the left, this is the way they hoisted the stringer. They put in this temporary steel beam across the stair opening and hoisted this up with, you know, just these two guys, which is amazing. Next. So at the top of the stair, we have these two big skylights, and it's lined up right above the stair, and you can see in the section drawing to the right that relationship between the skylight and the stair and the kitchen. So by centering the skylight over the stair, it allows us to light the second story, but also it brings the light through that stair opening and brings it into the first floor as well, helping with the light quality on that level. It did, the skylights do create some difficulty with HVAC design in some ways. It adds a lot of heat gain, but that's another story. Next. We have two bedrooms upstairs. They're divided by a modified Jack and Jill type bathroom. It's a little bit different in that you can turn one bedroom into a complete private guest suite, and then the other bedroom still has the access to a powder if that bedroom's being used for like a study or home office, something like that. Next. And you can see this in this slide, that front bedroom being turned into a guest suite. And then I think this is one of the last slides, but I just wanted to mention this HVAC attic that was put in above the primary suite. And it's hidden, but it's one of these integral spaces that you lose out on if you do a flat roof or low slope roof like we have here. And so I created the space that's under 5 feet, so we didn't have to count it towards the FAR for square footage. And we're able to put all our HVAC, the unit and a lot of the ducts in here with the central location, it actually really helped to reach all the spaces that we needed to. And next. Oh, sorry, I was talking I forgot to go on to the HVAC closet page. So this is the HVAC closet that I was talking about. You can access it with this short door from the second floor landing. Next. And then this is my final slide. And you can see the xeriscape plantings that died during the frost over here. I wanted to thank my clients, Nick and Jennifer Stacy, and my builder, Larry Anderson, and also Lee Dorr from Austin Energy Green Building for helping us so much through the project. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nana, for that beautiful presentation. Really appreciate you bringing the before pictures and after so we can see just the massive transformation and what's possible. It seems like you thought of everything, and we really enjoyed that. I love how you brought in sort of the outdoors inside with all the natural light and all of the natural materials. We have a few questions for you. We'll ask some to get started before we go to the audience. So could you tell us, Nana, more about the demolition and the recycling of the materials of the original home?
Yes, so this was a very important issue for especially Jennifer, my client, and she really took on, investigating moving the house to a different location, and was very determined to do it. And I will say that if she wasn't able to do it, I think it's too difficult of a process because she's very determined and capable. What we ran into were the cost issues involved, that the homeowners would be responsible for. But ultimately, what I think derailed that process was the lack of insurance coverage during the move, and they would have to take on all this liability. Once it gets to the property, it becomes covered under the new owner's property insurance. But during that transit was kind of a gray area. So they ended up having Habitat come out and remove a lot of the materials, flooring, windows, doors, fixtures. And then the demolition company that came in after that also took the materials to a sorting site where they were able to take out whatever materials could be recycled before, taking the remainder to a landfill. So instead of knocking down the house and taking everything to a landfill, it went through these steps to minimize, to utilize whatever we could and recycle.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. How did you start the green building process? Was that your suggestion or your client's idea?
So the way that happened was I had just worked with Lee on going through the rating process for my own house during a remodel addition. And it had been an interest of mine, and then having that experience really helped. Nick and Jennifer were also really interested in the topic. And during our conversations, I brought up that I had gone through this process and I kind of had some familiarity with it and how it would go. That gave me the comfort level to suggest that we could do this, and they were very interested in it, gung-ho about it, especially Jennifer. She took on a lot of the work. There's a online worksheet that you work with constantly going through the rating process. So they were full team members, and along with our builder, and we would all enter and upload documents to support the rating process. So yeah, I would say it came from both sides, but if they weren't committed and interested, a lot of times people say, oh, we'll build green, but we don't have to go through the rating process. So they were committed to doing it.
Wonderful. It sounds like a great collaboration. I think we're going to go now to some questions from the audience, and we want to thank you guys for sending those in. Looks like we have a bunch. Let's just jump right in here. With all the rain recently, how does a home with a flat roof mitigate the rain?
Okay, so this is actually an interesting question because the house does not have a flat roof. It looks like a flat roof house, but it has a low slope metal roof.
Okay.
And this was something that we discussed, and we were sensitive to, any possible leaks that might happen with a flat roof, but we, with the style of the modern style, the flat roof is sort of, visually that's what you're going for. But so we built these parapets, and behind there is a low slope metal roof, and it goes to gutters and drains, and that's how we dealt with it.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. We had another question that was related to the flat roof and the mitigation of that and moisture damage, but it sounds like this was not a flat roof, so that would really take care of those types of issues.
Right, I see that, and that question about cracks. If you have water running down the face of the stucco, it obviously adds to the cracking issue. I find all stucco really has cracks. It develops.
Yeah.
You can control it with control joints, but it's inevitable. So the hairline cracks, not like structural cracks that is a huge issue. But the elastomeric paint, I think you can put over existing cracks if you don't have it on already, and it helps cover those cracks, and kind of as it expands and contracts, the paint is able to do that along with it and keep the moisture barrier.
Great. That's really great to know. Okay, let's go to the next question. Did you run into any present day setbacks and impervious cover issues with this project?
Well, impervious coverage, we were right up against the impervious coverage. And actually, you can see in some of the slides, we ended up redoing the driveway design. We had these ribbon strips originally in the plans, and we went to sort of a staggered concrete pad design, and that helped with the impervious coverage. But obviously, we needed to be under the 45%, and we were. I think we were just under. For most of these standard Austin lots, 50 by 140 or 150, we end up getting like right up to 43-44% of impervious coverage.
Okay, great. Let's see. I think we've got time for another question. Let me ask you, are the windows operable?
There are operable windows. The clerestory windows, there's one, the upper windows that are high up. There's one operable of those because they're too hard to reach. We had a sort of a cranking mechanism for that one. But there are strategic, especially the vertically oriented windows are casements. So you crank it and it opens sideways. And we did have those be operable, especially for cross house ventilation, so from one end of the house to the other. And I forgot to mention another operable element is in the skylights. We have integral operable blinds because that really helps with the heat gain.
Yeah, love the light in the windows. Just beautiful. So I think we're going to wrap up here on our first tour. Thank you, Nana, for joining us today and sharing more about this sustainable home. We really appreciate you being with us here today. And I think it was a great first start to the Cool House Tour. We want to be sure to thank our sponsors here. We've got 9 Square Studio, Austin Air Conditioning, and Alpha Granite and Tile. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Our second tour is of a downtown condo development in the Rainey Street neighborhood. Let's watch the video.
In the historic Rainey Street district of downtown Austin, this 35-story residential mixed-use tower provides easy access to everything the city has to offer. The best of Austin's shopping, entertainment, transport connections, and outdoor recreational opportunities are on this property's doorstep, enabling residents to live, work, and play in their urban neighborhood. The building's striking lakefront setting inspired the design, which incorporates natural elements, including a green wall for environmental and visual appeal. The property also features a 2-story amenity deck and a roof filled with native plants. In the parking garage, multiple charging options are available to both residents and visitors who drive electric cars. The tower's position helps to reduce the level of solar radiation on the west facade, which features an energy-efficient, non-load-bearing glass curtain wall to help reduce heat inside the homes. Each condo unit uses low-consumption plumbing fixtures, Energy Star appliances, and efficient HVAC equipment that is connected to Austin Energy's district cooling system, helping residents keep energy use and utility costs to a minimum. This building's design demonstrates thoughtful integration of community health, well-being, and sustainability throughout. Interior finishes that minimize the emission of harmful chemicals and a green housekeeping plan contribute to occupant health. More than 65% of the materials used during construction were locally sourced or contained recycled content, reducing the project's resource footprint, supporting the local economy, and demonstrating that the sky's the limit for Austin's growing community of green buildings.
Joining us today to present more about the design of this project that earned a 4-star rating from Austin Energy Green Building are architects America Alva and Josh Coleman with Page. After their presentation, we'll take audience questions. Please enter your questions into the Q&A field.
Good morning. Before we get started, I just want to say that Josh and I are happy to be part of the Cool House Tour this year. 70 Rainey took several years from design to construction to completion, and we're just excited that we can finally share and have the opportunity to share it with the Austin community today.
Yeah, so I want to introduce myself as well. I'm Josh Coleman, an architect and design principal with Page. And as America said, thanks to Amy, Austin Energy, and the Texas Energy Society for the invitation. We're super excited about this. So a quick overview of Page. We're a 700+ firm with offices around the country, but founded in Austin in 1898. So we have really deep roots here and are incredibly invested in Austin's future. So I'm going to give a quick overview of the project's design, and then America will walk us through more details later on. So next slide. So 70 Rainey is located in the Rainey district in southeast of downtown Austin. That's a 330,000 square foot condominium tower, 164 units, 34 stories, with excellent views. We were blessed with this tremendous site, blessed in a neighborhood that provide us with a lot of design inspiration as well. With shout out to the client, Sackman Enterprises. They were obviously a key component to the success of the project and realizing its vision. The contractor was Flintco, landscape architect was Design Workshop, unit interiors were designed by Mark Zeff, structural engineer was IMEG, and mechanical, electrical, and plumbing systems were designed by Stantec. Next page. Okay, so a little bit about the site. We came across this project in 2014, and Rainey, the district, was really in transformation. And it's kind of been in transformation since 2006, when the formerly historic kind of single-family bungalow neighborhood was rezoned to Central Business District, which allowed much higher density development to take place. And so the high-rises came right shortly after that, but really on the north and the southern ends. So 70 Rainey was one of the first towers really right on Rainey Street, kind of in the heart of the action of where the dining and sort of and nightlife scene was really beginning to thrive. So we knew that 70 Rainey was going to change that. So there was lots of pressure to get it right. In addition to that immediate context, we're also, as you guys saw in the previous image, sort of blessed with parkland to the west, which we felt like would protect the views for a long time. And then also a very small park to the south that really helped facilitate construction. down the road. And obviously coupled with this proximity to the lake is, immediate connection to the hike and bike trails, kind of further reinforcing this idea of, wellness and the sort of, vibrant Austin downtown outdoor culture. Next slide, please. So how do you tackle, a project of this density with, basically in a single family bungalow neighborhood? And so we really looked at trying to kind of break it down and look at it in 3 different ways. So the first move was, admittedly, it was really about the residents. We wanted to kind of create a bit of an urban resort style amenity deck that was focused on resident wellness. We called it the Park in the Sky, but basically with, enhanced views. So that second image from the left really shows how we took the tower and sort of elevated it up off of what was a parking base. And then the next move was really about, capturing views for the residents, but also a little bit of city building at the same time. So we looked at basically rotating the prime face of the tower 14 degrees so that that view was no longer just sort of focused on slightly south of downtown, but right at the lake and right at the city. So that gave the tower its shape, its identity, its role on the skyline. But it was a very simple move that also captured amazing views for the residents inside their units. And then thirdly, we knew we needed to react to the neighborhood, as I kind of mentioned a minute ago. So we really focused on that ground level pedestrian experience, looking at integrating porches and basically returning some of the character that was lost. That there were some non-heritage trees on the site, but we're surrounded by beautiful tree canopies and knew that landscape was going to play a strong role in the design of the lower part of the project. Next slide. So this is the ground level floor plan. Just kind of walk you through it. You've got a porte cochere on the left side of the page, which is basically a drive-through. You have Rainy Street on the bottom of the image, and then so you would drive through to an alley on the top of the image. In the lower left-hand corner, you also have a stair that connects to a level 2 bar that I'll show you in the next image. And then in yellow is the residential lobby and elevator core, if you will, that'll take the residents up to the upper levels. And then just below that in red, you'll see one smaller elevator in a red box. That's the public garage elevator that you can use to access Rainy Street through the different times of the day. And then the other big component of how we sort of activated the ground plane was to introduce a large retail restaurant component. And you can see here again, we sort of set the wall of that restaurant back a little bit from the face of the building to create, again, this sort of porch-like welcoming feel. And then, of course, you have loading and other elements on the top of the page and building support, like the Austin Energy transformer vaults, all facing the alley. Next page, please. Then in yellow, this is level 2, jumping up one floor. So in yellow, sort of in the middle, is a second floor residential lobby that provides direct access to the retail space on level 2, which is now a bar. And then in red is that enclosed bar space. But then you can kind of see surrounded by it to the left is a really generous outdoor patio that opens up to that parkland to the south. Lots of good ventilation, good daylighting. Being on Rainy Street, so much of the experience is being outdoors. So that was a big driver here, that we wanted to make sure that the ratio of indoor to outdoor space in this instance is almost slightly in favor of outdoors. This is also the first parked level. You've just now gone up a speed ramp to get to this floor. And this is where we've introduced the electrical vehicle charging points, as well as some showers and lots of bicycle parking on this level as well. And then some more building support spaces are on the alley side. I think this is where we have our chilled water pumps. America will talk about those in a little bit more detail down the road. Okay, next slide, please. Now we've jumped all the way up through the parking levels, levels 3 through 9, and now we're on level 10. So this is the top of that sort of podium, as we call it. And this is where the amenity program really takes shape. In yellow is the enclosed amenity. You've got a common lounge, common dining spaces, an exhibition catering kitchen, even a resident theater. But all of that, as you can see, is surrounded by a large amount of outdoor recreation as well, ranging from an infinity edge pool that's purposefully located on that northwest corner to take advantage of the views. Then kind of going counterclockwise, you've got a dipping pool, a dog park, smaller discrete outdoor seating locations, and then all the way around to the north side on the right, you've got outdoor dining and an outdoor kitchen. So quite an active amenity space here. I think it's really been successful with all the residents. And if we jump up to the next slide, please. Now we're up one more level at level 11, finishing off the amenity program. So here, again, in yellow is the indoor program. And this is really where the fitness gym space is located. But also we have some saunas and steam rooms as well to support that. But the other kind of clear thing you can see on this plan is now you can really begin to see the footprint of the tower up above shown dashed around this area. And what that immediately did for us was begin to provide a variety of different exposures to the outdoor elements. So we've got a west-facing balcony on the top of the page from the fitness space that really is this awesome viewing balcony that kind of takes in all the views. Then you have a slightly more discrete yoga deck located on the east side. And each one of those have different levels of shade and exposure, which I'll talk about a little bit more down the road. But what that shading provided us for here was we were able to provide a lot more glazing. So really, when you look at the photos here in a minute from the amenity deck, you'll see it's all glass because we were set pretty far back from the tower footprint. Next slide, please. Okay, so now we're up to level 12. This is the bottom of the residential tower, the first level of units. And on this particular floor plan, we have 10 units total, a mix of studios and 2 bedrooms. But in the building, we go all the way up to 3 beds and even penthouses up above that have roof access, screened from the high winds at the roof, of course, but they also get their own dedicated exterior terrace. And this is where it really shows this 14-degree rotation of the tower that I was mentioning a minute ago. And so the units in the middle, yeah, they rotate along with that tower. So you can be standing in your kitchen and really have that view framed, even standing 20, 25 feet back from the exterior wall. And then the corners are resolved through the various corner units. And it could be in a living space, it could be in a bedroom. But all in all, the unit layouts are really responding to this idea of view and location. The other thing I should note here too is you'll see a distinct attitude towards balconies. We're using projecting balconies on the south and on the west. Those are, I would say, predominantly for solar shading, where we're getting the most solar heat gain. And then we're using we're using recessed balconies on the east side, where we want a little bit more protection from the elements. Also the noise from I-35 is on that side. And it actually kind of works as well with the volumetric configuration of the tower, which you'll see here in a minute in some more photographs. And then on this floor, I think it's even worth noting too that with the rotation of the tower, even the elevator lobby in a high rise, this one gets a window. That's a pretty rare thing. So that's what you kind of see this notch on the bottom of the plan. So pretty excited about that unique feature of this tower. Next slide, please. Okay, so now you're getting an idea of the overall form of the building and the fenestration and how those balconies can begin to work. You've got an image, the image on the left is from the east side. The image in the middle is from the north. And then on the right, I believe we're looking from the southeast. But I think what we want to add here is it's a clearly defined volume. It has very clean, taut detailing. We wanted the tower to be very simple in some respect, very kind of modest. We didn't want to create too many moves here, draw too much attention to it. Again, we're working in this lower scale district, and we want it to be timeless, not stand out, not be too loud or literally too tall. to sort of just kind of confidently hold its place in the rainy skyline. And now you can really see the impact of pulling in those amenity levels in that envelope and really allowing that zone to kind of provide another unique aspect to the tower. You can almost start to see some of the sloped columns. So we needed to work with our structural engineers hand in hand to find a way to take the tower column grid and work that through the podium levels down below. And the solution was quite simple. We sloped or angled some of the columns from top to bottom so that they found the right position. And we love how that looks on the amenity deck, the impact that has on the architecture. And it saved money at the same time. What could have otherwise been costly beams needed to pick up and transfer that load to other columns was eliminated. So those are the type of solutions we really love to find. And then I think last, the podium that I mentioned a minute ago, it has a lot of context to respond to. It can be greenscape, it can be the street frontage on Rainy, it could even be the MAC, and understanding, how the podium, even though it's fairly singular in its design, but we did kind of craft it ever so slightly different depending on what context it faces. Okay, next slide, please. And as I kind of mentioned in those massing slides a minute ago, it was really important that we find ways to sort of soften this jump in scale and articulate the building form in meaningful ways, such as adding pattern in the slatted podium facade. It may be hard to see in the image on the left, but we introduced some slightly different colored slatted panels that pick up a little bit of variety when it's needed. And we're also using a combination, again, of recessed and projecting balconies. And on the amenity deck as well, with that 2-height or double height space and some single height spaces, it's sort of this variety of scale and this variety of protection from the elements we feel like are sort of hallmarks of making a good home and creating experiences that when you get to the building, it makes you feel at home, not that you're in a kind of impersonal high-rise that doesn't really have that human scale. And more importantly, too, we needed the building to feel like it belonged in the neighborhood. This didn't need to be another high-rise plucked out of the middle of downtown. Let's say it needed to be part of the Rainy district. So we feel like all these moves sort of contributed to the sense of belonging in the neighborhood. Next slide, please. So now a little bit of a snapshot of the unit interiors. So the average unit size here is a little over 1,400 square feet. You got a glimpse of the unit planning and the level 2 floor plan and how we're taking advantage of the corners, for living spaces and even views for some of the bedrooms, as you can see in the upper right. But I think the other point to make here too is the exterior design was carefully crafted with the unit interiors in mind. We introduced, as the intro video described, high performance glazing that reduced the load for air conditioning. But we also introduced a lot of opaque panels. Honestly, the easiest way to deal with energy demand is through opaque panels and high insulation values. But that needed to be, well, let's just say those couldn't get in the way of capturing the views for the residents. Given the site. So it was really a process of coordinating the glass and the window locations with what was happening on the inside. How did that look on the outside? Obviously, we have a strong responsibility, to the urban design component as well. So this really allowed us to create, large windows and capture those views from the living spaces by artfully integrating a lot of opaque wall in the building overall, even though it maybe doesn't feel like it, and certainly we hope it doesn't feel like it when you're inside the unit, as you can see from some of the photographs here. And the image in the middle really shows what that elevator lobby window does to the experience of arriving and leaving the building every day, and this sort of really picturesque view to East Austin. Next slide, please. Okay, so 2 more photographs here, or 2 more pages on the amenity deck. So again, kind of a park in the sky for the residents. This is really, a combination of architecture and structure and a stunning landscape design by Design Workshop. that was designed, with ecologically sensitive plant selections, irrigation design also. I absolutely love the slide in the middle because this is taken obviously from a drone, but looking down on level 10. And I will challenge anyone to say, where does the amenity deck stop and where does, the Rainy Street District and the lake landscape pick up? It's really this amazing sort of synthesis of, taking the context and responding to it and giving back, at the amenity levels. And obviously a variety of different activity types are supported by this deck. Next photo, please. This is also, as much as we were celebrating the outdoors, there's lots of stuff to do on the inside as well. There's the communal lounge, indoor dining, the fitness studio, even outdoor billiards. So it's really about using the building as protection too. Like the image in the middle, you can see the rotating tower allowed us to provide a good amount of shade or cover for some of those outdoor spaces. But like at the yoga deck where we didn't have that cover, we did need to introduce a trellis. So it's really about kind of understanding, how those spaces are being used and how the environmental conditions need to be tailored to provide the right experience. I think this is the last slide on the overall story, and I'll hand it off to America to really get into some fascinating details.
Great. With everyone now more familiar with the location and the programming of the building, I will walk through the green features that made this 4-star rating possible, starting with the site. The project is a zero lot line, meaning the building is built to the property lines on all 4 sides to maximize the site. Yet, as we've seen in the photos previously, this does not sacrifice opportunities for outdoor activities and access to nature. The amenity deck, along with the public porches and elevated terraces that Josh showed, total 87% of outdoor open space when you compare it to the total lot size of the property. That's significant for a project like this. Of the 87%, 42% is vegetated with native or drought-tolerant plants and shade trees. The outdoor spaces, coupled with the stack configuration of the building, meaning the parking garage is under structure, as we see on the photo and on the slide, significantly mitigate heat island effect. And this is extremely important for urban cores such as the Rainy District. Next slide. The parking garage is naturally ventilated, as we saw earlier, hidden from public view by metal slats and vegetation, and it just creates a more pleasant garage experience for the residents. While the majority of the garage is reserved for the residents, the first few levels are public, and that's where we find the DC fast charger, and that's photographed on the right-hand side, and this is for community use. Since the demand for EV was unknown for the residents on the portion of the garage, we just didn't know who would want one, the electrical panel was designed with additional capacity to add private EV charging stations where needed in the future. Level 2 charging stations, which one typically sees around town, was used to calculate capacity to cover 10% of the total residential parking spaces. And since the building is well connected to the downtown bicycle network and adjacent to the hike and bike trail, it was extremely important to provide ample bicycle storage, as you see on the top left, for both the residents and building staff. So shower facilities, as Josh mentioned earlier, are located within the garage for employee use should they choose to cycle to work. Next slide. On to energy. For a high-rise project, having a high-performing envelope is extremely important to pass energy codes. So the 70 Rainey's envelope design underwent several energy studies to determine the right combination of insulated panels and glazing while still maintaining those spectacular views in natural daylight. And the final glazing selection was Solar Band R100 with low E, and it has a solar heat gain coefficient of 0.27. In addition to that, interior shading devices added an additional layer of sun protection to the building. So all the residential units are equipped with solar shades for ultimate glare control, and motorized shades were installed in the public areas to help with solar heat gain throughout the day. The biggest energy saving strategy for this building was connecting to the downtown district cooling loop, and piping for this system is shown on the right. The district cooling infrastructure is an extremely efficient and environmentally friendly way to cool multiple buildings in urban cores. What's the benefit of this? Well, you have less upfront cost and ongoing equipment maintenance costs for the individual buildings. It reduces process water usage and decreases the size of the mechanical rooms needed. And it reduces the number of rooftop units, which then can be repurposed for outdoor use. In addition to the district cooling, the mechanical design includes energy recovery ventilation. ERV is energy recovery process in HVAC systems that exchanges the energy contained in normally exhausted air, meaning the air leaving, and uses it to treat the incoming outdoor air, the fresh air that it's taking in. So the benefits for this was reducing HVAC energy consumption and peak demand on the building. We're using less power, and as well, it improved humidity control for the building. Next slide. So the Building Automated System, or BAS control, is programmed to ensure efficient equipment function. 70 Rainey's building manager can respond in real time to any deviations from the normal building operations and make the necessary corrections to get the system back on track. And within the residential units, Nest thermostats were installed. Smart thermostats such as these can be programmed for optimized thermal comfort and qualify for the Austin Energy Power Partner Thermostat Program. Additional energy saving strategies included energy efficient lighting. The building is 100% LED, and Energy Star appliances. All residential units and public spaces have Energy Star appliances, including the catering deck, kitchen in the amenity level. Next slide. For indoor water saving strategies, low flow plumbing fixtures and Energy Star dishwashers were installed throughout public and private spaces. This reduced the overall demand of potable water by 23%. That translates into over 1 million gallons of water saved per year. And to put that into perspective, that's enough water to fill 100 residential swimming pools. For outdoor water use, irrigation needs are met with potable water. Unfortunately, non-potable sources such as the purple pipe systems you see in Miller is not available in this area. However, with plant selection and drip irrigation with sensors reduced water consumption by 50%. Next slide. Health and indoor air quality was equally important as saving energy and water to our team, which is why low-emitting materials were prioritized throughout the building. This included all flooring, ceilings, and wall systems meeting VOC emissions testing. All composite wood and agri-fiber products installed met either no added formaldehyde or ultra-low emitting formaldehyde requirements. And all the paints, and of course, all paints, coatings, adhesives, and sealants applied on site met the VOC content thresholds. Additional IEQ strategies included isolating janitors' closets to prevent chemical fumes from drifting to adjacent spaces and venting these spaces directly to the outdoors. And no vinyl wall covering materials installed on the inside of the exterior wall to prevent trapping moisture. To promote good indoor air quality after construction, the building management team implemented the following operational programs in all common spaces. Integrated pest management. This program uses passive and least toxic chemicals to treat pests. And greenhouse keeping. This program uses non-toxic cleaning chemicals and sustainable paper products. Educational information about these programs was included in welcome packages to residents to encourage them to do the same within their units. Next, please. And along with VOCs, materials were also evaluated for recycled content and sourcing origins. More than 65% of the materials by cost contributed to sustainably sourced materials. That translated to $15 million worth of materials either locally sourced or high in recycled content. And in some cases, materials met both criteria, thus promoting the green and local economy in Texas. construction waste management plan for the project successfully diverted 84% of all demolition and construction waste from landfill. That was nearly 2,000 tons of diverted materials. And finally, for benchmarking purposes, the design team ran a whole building life cycle assessment study during construction. Life cycle assessment is an evaluation of the environmental effects of products from cradle to grave. Our analysis included the concrete structure and envelope components. The study revealed that cement in the concrete mix has the highest embodied carbon emissions, and by substituting a portion of the cement with fly ash, a byproduct of coal burning plants, the building's life cycle demonstrated a 5% reduction in environmental impacts. Next, please. And here for Josh, some final thoughts.
Yeah, thanks, America. So kind of in summary, we thought these two images were a good way into, basically the notion that this entire project for us was, a lovingly crafted, 2-year long, love letter to Rainey Street. And Austin's vibrant culture, it is exhibited here, at the ground level with the front porches, taking cues from the surrounding neighborhood, could be from the siding, the weathered materials, even some of the fencing materials that were on site actually kind of gave us a lot of inspiration. You can see how that translated into the horizontal slats for the podium, some of the 2-story scaled elements, these deep recesses, these kind of large outdoor, retail areas. Even some of the steel work at the entry canopies were sort of meant to, recall the wood framed, roof framing of some of these bungalows, and even some of the porches you can see out on Rainey Street today. So these kind of familiar patterns and materials and themes we try to weave into, this experience. And then, I think the big thing to note here is the image on the right, and that's then integrating the landscape into the facade, reducing what we call the urban heat island effect, right? When we lose trees, the heat builds up, and when we can put back vegetation, they do a better job of buffeting those kind of temperature swings. So you can see here, Snowmageddon, we had a vibrant, thriving facade, and we're incredibly thrilled to see it working so well, kind of recreating and reconnecting that rainy tree canopy that we found when we began working on the project all around us. So all this is basically to say that, what you see here, all this is topped with, literally high density residential above you. And just kind of want to make the point that when sensitively designed, that type of density can provide significant contributions to the community, and that's what we strive for in our work, and are proud to have worked on 70 Rainey as a result. With those community benefits, I think America was going to talk to us a little bit about a triple bottom line analysis. Is that still on deck, America?
Yes, of course. So
Okay,
as Josh keeps talking about, our goals for this project, as well with the Sackman Group, was really to make this project fully integrated and be a benefit to the community. And we can just say that and leave it there, but we really wanted to prove that out. And so what we did was we put our design to the test by running a triple bottom line cost benefit analysis using AutoCase. And this tool takes into account and considers all the cost of the green features and quantifies it from a social and environmental benefit standpoint. So for our project, 70 Rainey actually gives back $6 million in community benefits, in financial savings, and environmental improvements. To me and to us, that's what sustainability is really all about.
Okay, I think that concludes our portion of the presentation. On behalf of myself, and I'll let America say the same, but thank you for the opportunity here to talk about our work, and we look forward to continuing the conversation. America, anything you want to add?
No, just thanks. I'm just really excited that we've been able to share this with the team and the community. It's a great day.
Wow. Well, thank you so much, guys. That was a beautiful presentation. And I got to say, I've been driving by this building on I-35 back and forth for some time now, and it's just exciting to see the behind the scenes, the behind the design, and all the thought that has gone into creating this building. It's everything from the sustainable, locally sourced materials to the electric vehicle charging offerings, to bike storage, the indoor health quality, the amenities that you're bringing, and then the community benefits, which is a wonderful highlight that I, for one, am really excited to learn about and appreciate as you're integrating into the community with a beautiful building like this. So I think let's jump into some questions now. We have a few for you, and then we will open it up to some of those questions from the audience. So Josh and America, I imagine that building downtown can be challenging. What are some of the considerations in designing a tall building on a street populated with historic homes transformed into businesses?
America, I'll kind of leap out here with this one. And, it may sound like I'm kind of, drumming the same beat here, but I think it was, well, let me kind of back up and say for us, and I don't want to call it easy, but the design of the tower, the design of the amenity areas, those feel like those came together and sort of congealed, I guess, relatively easily. We felt like we had good ideas, but we were worried all the way through about the podium and the ground level. And again, so for us, it was really a question of design and sensitivity to the neighborhood and the context. And so we went through scheme by scheme, really rolled up our sleeves and put in the work to figure out what is the right solution here in terms of program. The client really worked with us, quite a bit on that, a lot of brainstorming sessions. What are the right materials? What's the right configuration? So I think that loomed, large in our minds the whole time. I'm kind of recalling CJ Sackman by basically saying, we've got to get the Rainy vibe just right for this project, right? And we knew so much of that was at the ground level. So I think that was our real challenge. Don't get me wrong, there were other challenges too that I think America is going to talk about, but that was a big one.
For me, leading the sustainability efforts on this project, I think the biggest challenge was maintaining what we designed throughout. This project takes years to make. So at the time when you're selecting the right materials with low VOCs and the right fixtures, those products may either be discontinued or not available, or the quantities are not there for your project. So you have to quickly figure out a solution so that you're still maintaining those targets and priorities that you set at the beginning. And I was really glad that we had Flintco as a partner. They were there every step of the way whenever those challenges came up.
Wow, that's wonderful. And something that you had said, John, that I thought was really important as well is making sure that you're creating a sense of belonging. And along those lines, I think we're going to go to an audience question now here. With the rising cost of Austin living, how many units were allocated to affordable housing? Were these able to be leased, or were they for sale?
That's a good question. Okay, forgive me if I don't have the exact number right, but I recall it was around 10 or 11 units were allocated, as affordable units. The details of that, in terms of were they rentals, were they for sale? I'm not privy to that, to be honest. So I can't speak to the economics too much. But what I can say is they were designed just like all the other units. They're on the smaller tier of the spectrum. They're still distributed amongst the different unit sizes. But from a design perspective, it's the same finishes, the same materials. There really wasn't a distinction, in our minds. But I can't comment on the economics. I'm not sure how that worked out. America may know.
No, I'm sort of along the same, like you. I know that we had them and we had them throughout so that there was equal distribution, but how that played out financially, whether they were sold or leased, that information wasn't shared with me.
Well, we really appreciate that this foundationally was a part of the project. And I think that really says a lot about this project overall. Let's go to another question. Who has access to the showers?
So I can answer that. The showers in the garage are meant for all the staff at 70 Rainey. So all the building staff that work there to support the tower and the residents. It's also available to the staff for the restaurant and the bar. So it's really about anybody who
Okay.
works at the tower. They can ride their bike to work and shower there and go on and to their office or to their jobs.
And did you figure that need out through some surveying questions around bike riders? Because that's really bike specific, and we really love to see that you're looking at that sort of lifestyle. It's super important.
Well, just given the location of the building, it would not be a good idea to not provide it. We just really wanted to promote alternate transportation. It is a very busy street, and if we can eliminate more car usage or less car usage, it's a win. So there is parking for public. They just won't have access to the showers. So we just really wanted to give that opportunity, and we wanted to avoid people tying their bicycles to anything. If we didn't provide it, we knew the bicycles would be there. We knew they would come and there was a need. And so it was really important to go above and beyond and provide enough so that the public and the residents and the building staff could use it.
Okay, great. All right, next question. Can you describe the exterior treatment of the garage levels in more detail, vertical or horizontal slats?
Yeah, I can cover this one. So the material is aluminum, and simply put, the slats are made out of an extruded aluminum kind of rectangle, or like almost like a C shape, if you will. The C shape helps to kind of eliminate some of the weight, but some of the slats are also fully formed, or four-sided. So they're very lightweight. And that allowed us to create panels of slats basically in 10-foot sections. So the entire facade is basically made up of these 10-foot panels that have the horizontal slats kind of attached to them. So they would take one panel, attach it to the building, go to the next one. So this idea of them laying, stick by stick is a bit of a misnomer. It's really still a panelized system, which provides some economy and definitely some quality in the construction, since those panels were made in the shop. And then they also go up on the building relatively quickly. And what we did too, for a little bit of variety, is we experimented with different sizes of slats. So you have smaller scale with smaller openings down low, where you want to see into the garage a little bit less. And we wanted that kind of smaller, more tactile scale at the ground level. Then as you go up the facade, let's say up at level 4, level 5, there's a second scale where the slats get a little bit taller. There's a little bit more daylight. And then there's a third tier at the very top of the podium where the slats are pretty tall and the gap between them is pretty big as well. And then we didn't just kind of cast this horizontal line all the way across. The line kind of meanders up and down. So there's a bit of an interlock, a bit of a play of the slats so that it looks different. You get a little bit of a unique read every time you walk around the project. And then that also became the system of how we integrated these sort of linear planters. There is a steel backup structure that's used to provide support for the vehicle cables that make sure the cars don't go over the edge of the garage. And so that same steel helped us support the planters off of the podium. And as you can see, those planters integrate with these really elegant, thin horizontal lines. And then we knocked out the slats above that so that air could pass through. The plants would have sunlight and ventilation, and you could see out of the podium a little bit too. That's, I think, one of my favorite parts about being inside the garage, is that you can still see the plants on the outside. So
Yeah, I think that's
really,
so
it's
interesting.
really a
Exterior.
good experience.
I'm sorry. Sorry, I was just going to say
No,
it's
you're
so
good.
interesting to see from the exterior some of those design measures because it provides a little bit of whimsy as well. We did want to get in one more quick question, if possible, before we have to wrap up this wonderful presentation. So, is there solar on this building?
No, there is not solar on this building, unfortunately.
Okay, well, it looks like we have one more question then. Thank you for the quick response there. If power is shut down for extended periods, as happened in February, what backup is in place to provide energy to residents?
Josh, I don't
Yeah.
recall if we have backup generators on there, but I do know that the district chilled water loop tends to be more secure and more resilient. And so I know some of the other areas that had district chilled loop did not go down during the freeze.
Yeah, that's exactly what I would have said, that the district loops generally probably on a backup power supply as well to keep that chilled water moving. And I can't quote the exact code reference, but for a project of this size, you get over a threshold where an emergency generator is required. And so that was the case here. So we have on the alley side at the ground level, a room that houses basically a diesel emergency generator that kicks on and then powers, the building. Honestly, I didn't follow up to see if it kicked on, during the event not too long ago, but they have to test it, I think, once a month to ensure that it's operating properly and fueled properly. So, short answer, yes, this had backup power.
Wow, wonderful. Well, I mean, it feels like we could kind of sit here, for another hour and get into more questions about this project. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you joining us today, America and Josh, and sharing more about this cool downtown condo.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks, everyone.
Let's take a moment to thank the sponsors, Page, Flint Co., Wandor Corporation, and Fashion Glass and Mirror. Okay, thank you everyone for hanging out with us on our journey today on the Cool House Tour. Our third tour is of a backyard family dwelling in East Austin. Let's watch the video.
Returning to Northeast Austin's MLK neighborhood after years away from his hometown, this homeowner built a backyard dwelling on his grandparents' lot after following the advice of a family member with an interest in green building. The design of this 5-star Austin Energy green building rated home prioritizes both energy and water efficiency. The 2-story, 2-bedroom home features a reflective metal roof and overhangs on all sides to keep the home cool, and the entire heating and cooling system is inside the thermal envelope. Short, insulated plumbing lines serve all of the home's fixtures. In addition, Energy Star appliances maximize water efficiency, while smart thermostats help the homeowners save energy. Outside, drought-tolerant landscaping featuring Texas redbud trees requires minimal irrigation, and the use of gravel on the driveway helps rainwater to soak into the ground. This home's strategic design and efficient appliance selections mean that a small 3.85 kilowatt solar array on its south-facing roof covers over 90% of the family's electricity needs. This sustainable addition to a family homestead allows multiple generations to live close to each other in a home that is attractive, low maintenance, and meets the whole family's needs. The homeowner has already enjoyed the benefits of building a sustainable home and recognizes that investing in a green building will help his family reap the benefits for years to come.
Joining us today to present more about the design and building of this home that earned a 5-star rating from Austin Energy Green Building are William Jones and Tward Brooks. After their presentation, we'll take audience questions. Please enter all your questions into the Q&A field.
Good morning, everyone. This first slide is a picture of the front house and the back house, but To give you a little background on 1806 Deloney, we have to talk about the front house first, which my grandparents, William and Willie Mae Brooks, purchased in 1957, which allowed them to move their children, 8 children, to from the projects to Deloney. When I first saw homes being built behind other homes, visiting Austin when I was living in Atlanta, I asked my cousin William here how we could do that on our property. And we gave a presentation to the family to purchase the back piece. And that purchase kind of paid the taxes for the family for the upfront home for several years. With all the gentrification that's going on in East Austin and the displacement, unfortunately, of Black and brown people, I wanted to ensure that that didn't happen to us. So building behind my grandfather's house allowed us to keep both houses in the family for years to come. Next.
So on this next slide, the architectural design was done by Roy Jensen, civil engineer was Robert Hammond, and civil engineer was done by Kurt Prosner. And on this slide, I want to highlight the high window placements. As you can see, high window placements is throughout the home to ensure natural sunlight comes in throughout the home. Also on the outside, the exterior, as you can see, the exterior outdoor lighting that is fluorescent, motion detector. This helps reduce energy costs for Brooks as a homeowner to provide security and landscape lighting when it is needed. Next. So on this next slide, we planted a minimal of 90% of new plants from the City of Austin's current Grow Green plant list. The specific plants from that list are native to Central Texas. Once planted, they save time and money from a perspective of water use, fertilization, and pest control.
Next.
So on this next slide, as you can see, we planted a total, and I said as you can see, actually you can't see the total plants that we did plant, but we planted 12 native Central Texas plants on this particular property. One of the 12 being elm trees, 2 of the 12 being palm trees, and we planted 9 Texas redbud trees.
Next.
So on this next slide, as you can see, we have 11 solar panels. And with these 11 solar panels, we were able to create 98% efficiency, given Mr. Brooks, opportunity at net zero energy consumption. And next slide.
So as you can see in the hot months of July, August, and September, because of the solar panel arrays, my light bill was never over $85. Next. And with the installation of the tankless water heater, as you could see in December, January, and February, when it was very cold, my gas bill was never over $50. Next.
So here on this slide, you can see the HVAC layout. With this particular HVAC layout, it is a 15 Sears, 18,000 pound capacity HVAC that is controlled by programmable learnableness thermostat. Next. So here is the first floor master bathroom, and this design was done by Brooks and myself, and just wanted to point out the low consumption water fixtures and toilets and so forth in the bathrooms.
Next.
Same thing on the second floor master bathroom. We used glass tile, marble with the countertops, natural stone, And again, low consumption water fixtures and toilets.
Next.
So here is the pantry and washroom. When building an ADU, you're compromised with space. So in order to maximize space, we wanted to include a pantry and a washroom that would allow for stackable washer and dryer. And I wanted to point out that, the washer and dryer, high efficiency Energy Star appliances.
And this washroom has a little storage in here that you can't see to utilize the space that we have in such a small footprint. Next.
So here in the kitchen, as you can see, the countertop is all natural stone. The appliances, again, are Energy Star high efficiency appliances. And then also for space consumption, we have the trash and recycle bin. And then, as you can see, the operable window, of course, creates great ventilation in the kitchen and living areas.
Next. So here's a wider view of the kitchen and living area. You can see with the high ceilings and the large 8-foot sliding door provides natural ventilation, natural light, kind of makes the small footprint feel a little bit bigger than it really is. Next.
The same thing, I just wanted to point out again, the natural lighting. As you can see, there are no lights on in the property in this particular slide, and it is very well lit. So again, in design, the window placement, door placement is very important in order to maximize energy consumption. And actually, I should say, to lessen energy consumption.
Next.
So here we have the glass rail staircase. On the staircase and the stairs, we use what is called low velocity stain. So of course, in the design, we use that as one of the green features. And then also for energy consumption, we placed LED stair lights. So at night, if Mr. Brooks is coming downstairs, he doesn't have to cut on the lights throughout the house and wake up everyone. So we placed the LED lighting along the stairwell as well.
And I'm very proud to display the Austin Green Build plaque prominently in the home, as you can see on the wall. Next slide.
And lastly, I would just like to thank Lee Dorr for all of her help and guidance in helping us achieve 5-star Austin Energy Green Build rating. I must say it is really an honor and privilege to be able to capitalize on obtaining 5 stars on this particular build.
And I'd like to thank Mark Taylor, our mentor in the build. And I'd like to thank my family for believing in me and having faith to do this project. And I'd like to thank God for making it all possible. And thank you, City of Austin.
Well, thank you guys so much. I loved seeing your family home and, really appreciate the diversity on these different homes that we're visiting today with the Cool House Tour. And I love hearing from the homeowners. This is great because you all inspire us at home that want to do something special and energy efficient with green features in our own home. And one of the most compelling things about this story is the history. And I'm so glad that you talked a little bit about that, because we do know as Austin's growing, we want to maintain and hold on to that history and our stories. So thank you so much for that. We're going to get into some questions now. And I'd just like to say, Will and Brooks, welcome. Can you talk to us more about the process of transforming a single family property into a 2-family property? And what does that involve?
Well, taking the proposal to the family and getting their approval was probably the first and most important step. And then after that, you have to get a survey of the land to properly delineate the boundaries, to set the legal boundaries. And then once that's done, then you can, from that survey, you have a condo plat that clearly spells out the boundaries. From there, you'll have to subdivide the property into what they call a condo association to firmly establish the legality of the deeds for property A being the front house and property B being my house, so that both of them are deeded separately. From there, you have an attorney file that with the county and to create the separate deeds. And then from there, you can secure your financing to build the second house and then start the permitting process with the city of Austin.
Yeah, thank you for those details. It's so important to think some of that through as you get started. And I appreciate very much that you had sort of the family collaboration. It's so important because in the end, these homes are serving people. So we want to make sure that people are getting out of it what, is intended. So kudos to you on those design elements that you guys put forward. And to expand on that a little bit, I'd like to, ask you, how did you start the design process, and when did green building come into the picture?
So the process started with Roy Jensen at Waterloo Permits. At the time, he was a mentor to me, and I was working under him at Waterloo. And just through the process of doing many, many projects, when I was approached by Mr. Brooks about building on the back end of the property, we kind of already had an insight on what needed to be done in order to get everything permitted and moving along appropriately. Okay, and I'm sorry, and what was the other half of that question? I'm sorry.
Right, and the other half was, when did you start thinking about green building? Why go green? And, tell us a little bit more about your personal story on that.
Yeah, so I've been a realtor for 16 years. And 3 years ago, I earned my green designation. And being a realtor and transitioning into building, I know the importance of sustainability and being able to build green, because that is going to be the future by 2030. With that in mind, and with the opportunity to build this particular project, that was our main mindset and goal of going in, to be able to build something that would be sustainable for him. And then not only that, but after he retires, that he would have a home that runs efficiently, and make sure that being on a fixed income, it will be affordable.
And just let me add that as the owner and co-builder, it wasn't an easy walk in the park for William to kind of convince me of some of the upfront costs that were associated with the solar and some of the other green aspects. But because of how things are going and things are going green and sustainability, once I was on board, I'm glad I did. I'm glad he was that instrumental in me doing it. And now I'm reaping the benefits, as I showed the slides of my bills and my energy consumption, that I'm glad I did, and it's paying off.
Yeah, it's really great when you can actually experience those cost savings. That's fantastic. And just love to hear how this home has served multiple generations. And you've now really future-proofed it with this 5-star rating from Austin Energy Green Building. We're going to go to an audience question right now. How did the ADU affect the tax rate for the home that was originally on the lot? Does the ADU have a unit designation, or is it part of the front home address? What are the benefits you have found with the multiple, just sort of what we talked about, multi-generational living? And we can go and answer those individually if you want, but you're free to
First of
respond
all,
now.
to answer the first question, once they're legally separated with the A and B at the county, then the square footage was taken off the front house. So the taxes did decline a little bit on the front house. I have my own taxes because they're deeded A and B. So it is not a part of the front house legally, but it is part of the front house as far as the condo association to legally subdivide them to A and B is concerned. Both have their own taxes, and the front house taxes went down slightly. Not enough that we would have wanted them to, but it did go down slightly because of the square footage decrease from just one unit to now 2 separate units. And what was the second part, ma'am?
All right, the second one was, does the ADU have a unit designation or is it part of the original home address?
Yeah, we have, there are 2 separate addresses, 1806A, and then my home is 1806B. It's deeded like that at the county. The mail comes to 2 separate places. So they're their own separate entities, yet are bound by the condo association.
Okay, wonderful. And let's go with this third question too, that's from the audience, the same grouping of questions, because I think this is so interesting, is just hearing your story and helping bring the human element. Let's see if you can expand a little bit on the benefits that you have found with the multi-generational living.
Well, because my grandfather's house in the front has always been the family Grand Central Station, and then me living in the back, it has kind of brought us all closer together. We have events here at least once a month, whether it's a birthday or an anniversary or a graduation party. So we generally congregate between both yards, between their backyard and my front yard, which is the same yard. And so we can have all kinds of family functions here. You don't have to, the front house only has 1 bathroom, being built in 1957. So we kind of just have a middle space outside with lawn chairs and picnic tables, and then the use of both houses. So anytime we have an event, it's ideal because we have 2 different houses to congregate.
Wow, that's great. So you really have, it's sort of created almost a new living room in the backyard where you all can come together. I'd love to hear that. And I hope that I get to invited to one of those.
It is a communal place. It is very communal.
It's beautiful. I love that. And I was going to just mention, I hope I can get invited to one of those parties. It sounds like a lot of fun. Okay, let's go on to a couple more questions. Are you all hearing me now, guys? Okay, we are missing a little audio for the moment, and we will check that technical issue right now. Hello, it sounds like you're back.
Yes,
Yes,
back.
Okay, let's.
Yeah.
Well,
Before
I want to
class,
get back to the most important question right now. Am I getting invited to that next communal backyard hangout?
Yes, ma'am. The next event will probably be Juneteenth. So you're welcome
Wonderful.
anytime.
Love it. Thank you. Okay, let's go into a couple of more questions here, a little more general, but I think it's important and hope to pick your brain a little bit about, are there any lessons learned or surprises that you would like to share with the audience today?
Well, I think one lesson learned in surprises is one, if you're going to be building, getting a hold of one, what you planning to do as far as design, and then 2, the material needed for the design. You know, since COVID, lead times on a lot of material has been really delayed. And so I would say definitely consider lead times to avoid any obstacles as you begin to build.
And as being a homeowner and not a builder, and just believing in William, with the help of Mark Taylor, just the arduous process of building and permitting was new to me. So, lessons learned for me was just learning the whole process that and how incremental it is, whether it's permits or whether it's the priority of building, and you can't do this first, you have to do that first. So just learning the whole building process was a learning experience for me.
Yeah, it seems like, these projects, long-term investment, it's going to take a little time. So we get excited about getting it done, but just trying to have the patience, especially as you mentioned in the time of COVID and how that's sort of slowed some things up. Let's see if we've got any more here. Let me scroll down just a moment. Okay, were the solar panels able to supply all the power during the winter storm?
Yes, we did not lose power. We did not lose power at all. We only lost gas. And that wasn't because of the tankless water heater, it was because we had a gas main that blew out on 12th, but I never did lose power, ever.
And did the palm trees make the freeze?
Yes, I had to cut them back, but I've cut them back and they're coming back and they're vibrant now.
Awesome. Okay, we have another question here. What a beautiful family experience you've created. I'm curious to know if you have considered sharing this knowledge with other Austin residents so they too can keep property in the family and possibly providing sustainable living for generations to come.
Absolutely. We're more than happy to be able to share with anyone that wants the knowledge base and how to go about starting the process to build. So my contact information, I'll be more than happy to give that, as well as I'm sure the contact information will be on the slide and so forth for anyone that is interested in getting in contact with us.
Yes, we'd be more than happy to share not only the whole experience, but the whole process to allow some of the East Austin residents to hold on to their homes. I know taxes are going up. A lot of people are being displaced. Sometimes progress is great, but along with gentrification comes with displacement. And so if we can help anyone on the east side of Austin hold on to their family home, help them step through some of the legal hoops of doing that, we would be glad to share that and honored and blessed to do it.
Well, it's a fine example, and I want to thank you both for your leadership on that. Let's see, we have a few more questions. Let's see. All right, what kind of insulation was used?
So we use spray foam insulation, closed cell spray foam insulation throughout the home.
Okay. Are there now 2 water and wastewater services?
Yes, individual 2 wastewater, 2 mailboxes, 2 water meters, 2 electric meters, 2 of everything, as they are deeded A and B and have their own separate everything.
Okay, great. Okay, is the condo association part of another organization or only your family?
It's our family. It's the 1806 Condo Association, which was the only avenue we had to legally subdivide the property. And so once a year, we have to file a zero revenue, no dues are due, no money's changed hands, and we have to do that once a year with the county.
Okay, great. I think we have time for another question here. Can you talk more about the upfront cost in relation to how long it will take to pay off those much higher costs? Benefits were immediate, lower utilities, but how many years until you really start seeing that savings?
Is this from the solar or is this from everything?
It's just for everything. Compared to not going green is the question.
How long would you say it would take, at least just by the solar itself? We had an initial $12,000 investment. I've been here a year now, and again, I haven't had a bill over. I think my most bill was $85 as far as power, and then my least was $21. And so when you extrapolate that out, I would say about 8 to 10 years maybe to get.
Yeah, about 10 years. About 10
to
years.
get
Great.
full payment on the solar.
Awesome. And it sounds like, that's exactly, you're comfortable with that because you guys are there to stay and you want to continue this sort of family home. So I think we have time for one more question. Can you say a little more about the way the plumbing is organized to shorten the runs? Did that help avoid freezing?
That's a good question in terms of the plumbing. Because I'm not a plumber, I don't have all the details of that, but I'm sure Brooks can speak to.
I did not have any freezing pipes. The only thing that happened to me was the loss of gas. I had water, although we did have a boil advisory toward the end there, but none of my utilities went out except the gas, and that was due to a main. So I was totally up and running.
Sounds like you guys mitigated a few surprises along the way. Do you have any other surprises that you would like to share with us in this process?
That's a good question. I can't think of any right now, right offhand.
I can't think of it either.
Okay, well, I want to thank you so much. Is there anything else you'd like to share before we wrap this up? Let me offer that out.
Just like to thank Lee and everyone for getting us to this point, and thank you guys for having us. We're really excited that we got a 5-star rating and we're able to be a part of the tour on the 25th anniversary of the tour. Thank you very much.
Absolutely, well said.
Thank you so much, Will and Brooks, for joining us today and sharing more about your family home. And we'd like to take a minute to thank the sponsors, Neargy Green Build and Design, an accessory dwelling unit permit resource. Well, I really enjoyed that, and wow, what a morning. I can't believe that went by so fast. I loved learning more about all 3 of these different homes from the presenters. And now we're going to take a brief 30-minute break to set up for the afternoon tours and give you time for a quick lunch. If you won't be joining us in the afternoon, please take our survey when you get our follow-up email. We would love your feedback to help us plan future events. As we go to break, check out the slides for information about Austin Energy rebates and programs available to you. We'll see you back at 12:30.